Try that in a small town. You can get yours now, but let's get right to it. We got Fox News. This is very interesting, and it kind of sheds light on a few things, on ESG scores, on Fox News, on why Tucker got fired. It actually brings a few things together, and that's the fact that Fox News has actually been embracing Satan far more than we knew about. They have been accepting donations from their employees on behalf of the Satanic Temple, as well as a couple of other very questionable for a conservative platform, a couple of other questionable organizations as well. But the main one, the biggest one, is the Satanic Church. This story was broken by Glenn Beck's executive producer. So I'm going to have a clip of her speaking and showing how she actually saw this, because she has some sources in Fox that actually kind of whistleblowed for her. Then we're going to have Glenn Beck speaking on Newsmax about the situation, and he ties into some things. Shout out to the comment section right away. Thank you so much. I get into it with some people, but some people are just amazing, because somebody put me on to Glenn Beck. They were like, I just heard what you made, and I think you would love Glenn Beck. And then I went and listened to him, and I do love him. And he ties in some things that people don't usually tie to this kind of thing. And I'm so happy that he did. And we're going to expand on that more, touching on some WEF type of things. But I'm going to go a little deeper into what he was talking about, just so everybody understands. It's very, very concerning. The fact that this company, which I love, I up until they fired Fox, or up until they fired Tucker, I was like, Fox is great. They were hitting the nail on the head every time, especially when they had Tucker. They couldn't miss with Tucker. And then all of a sudden, something happened. That the whole Dominion thing happened, and then it was as if something was going on. No one could really tell. Tucker claims that he still doesn't even know why he was let go. And I think this connection to the Satanic Temple actually makes it a little more clear. Let's get into that. Before I do, of course, I have to bring you to the store. This is IamCoachColin.com. This is the Soul Not For Sale tee. For those of you, and this is so fitting for this episode, I didn't even mean to do this. But when we're talking about the Satanic Temple, you have to remember that your soul is not for sale, not for money, not for riches, not for anything. We also have the Public Enemy #1, another fitting t-shirt right now. Public Enemy #1, Google the World Economic Forum, which we're going to talk about a bit. Google Agenda 2030, and you'll understand quickly why this gentleman's Public Enemy #1. And also we have the Certified Pureblood shirt. For those of you that survived the pandemic unscathed and untainted, get your certificate of achievement with this shirt. And we have the newest design, We the People, where someone's telling us we will own nothing and be happy, and we the people are telling him exactly what we think of that sentiment. All of that is available at IamCoachColin.com, and if you want 10% off, you got it, no problem, no signups. I am Coach Colin. That's the thing that you put in the discount code, that you put in the discount code area. There we go. All capital letters, all one word, one L in the name Colin, and that gets you 10% off. And if you've done that with us already, thank you so much. Now let's get into this first clip. First clip is, this is the executive producer. She's giving a walkthrough showing us that this is real and this is not something that she's just saying. She's actually showing us the website, which was showed to her by a Fox whistleblower. Let's get into that.
Favorite charity, I use quotation marks if you can see this on Blaze TV, blazetv.com/Glenn. Use code DumpFox for 30 off. My favorite here is, I like to call it Satanic Temple 1. Yes, you can donate
the Satanic Temple, and they will match 100%?
Yes. So you can go to this charity, which, by the way, full disclosure, they say that they don't worship Satan. They are just Satanists. They also...
What do you think Satan would say? God.
I haven't asked him. I try not to talk to him much.
Yeah, okay.
But one of my favorite things that is actually not highlighted in this graphic is in this app, it says cause website. It lists the hyperlink to the satanictemple.com. And then find more causes in Salem, Massachusetts tagged with I crap you not. Religion, Satan, satanic. So if there's any Fox staffers that are, in the mood to donate to a charitable cause like the Satanic Temple, you can do that, and Fox can match that up to 100%. Yes, and there should be a follow-up. Yeah, you're seeing there where the staffer input $1,000, and we were able to see that, in fact, the system does show that it's eligible for matching.
So that's that. That's the first clip I wanted to show you guys. So they have aligned themselves with the Satanic Temple. Very, very telling. Very, very telling. But we're going to get into why that's very telling. It's not just the fact that it's like, oh, okay, they're Satanists. Oh, okay, that's what happened. But there's a little bit more to it. Even if the heads of a company are not actually aligned with Satanism in this instance. Also, I mean, you're able to donate to Planned Parenthood, she showed, and also something called the Trevor Project, which does some very unfavorable things, especially if you're on the conservative side, if you're on the religious side of God's side. These things that the Trevor Project actually does are not something that you would support at all. I can't even get into it, but it's not good. Not good at all. And then there's another clip I want to show you right now. This is Glenn Beck sitting down at Newsmax, and he's explaining the whole situation because, a lot of people don't know what was going on. They broke this story. They tried to speak to Fox. Fox did not get in contact with them. So they had to just go about it and kind of break the story. Now, obviously, Fox didn't get in touch with them because they don't want to have to explain themselves. But let's just play this first clip, and we can start getting into why they would align themselves with the Satanic Temple, the Satanic Church.
Great to be on the show. I'm looking forward to talking to you this week. I can't tell you how happy I am for your success. Now, what's happening at Fox? It doesn't bring me joy to talk about this because, Fox played a big role in both of our careers. And it wasn't like this when Roger Ailes was alive. Say what you want about Roger Ailes, but he knew the American heartland and he cared. They have gone full on woke. This comes from 3 different sources inside. They are wildly concerned about this. This goes on top of all of their woke new policies, but this is matching money for the Satanic Temple. It's matching money for Planned Parenthood or the Southern Poverty Law Center. There is no excuse for this. As Fox News viewers, if you are frequenting Fox News or part of their club, I'm not talking about the people on the air, but the people who are now running it are not the friends of our Constitution and our God, I believe.
Very well said. Very well said by Mr. Glenn Beck. I have another clip, and this is where we start to get deeper. And this is the thing that a lot of people don't connect. So right away when you see this, you'll be like, oh, they're Satanists. That's what it is. Aligned with Satan. That's how it is. They're showbiz. They're Hollywood. That's what these people do. But Glenn Beck actually calls something out that I always tend to call out when I'm seeing a lot of this. Because you have to understand, when you see companies and celebrities acting a certain way, it's not just because of themselves. Sometimes they're not even making the decisions themselves. And I'm so glad that he called this out because it does touch on the World Economic Forum. And a lot of people don't realize that when they see stuff like this because they don't know about the World Economic Forum. They don't know about Agenda 2030. But let's just play Glenn Beck actually touching on this very masterfully.
I think people just need to be aware that this is ESG. This is the World Economic Forum coming to roost. They are demanding their pound of flesh, and they will get it. But I know my company, I'm pretty sure your company, we would not do this. It's one thing to have the matching contribution, but not to the Satanic Temple. And by the way,
Right.
Up until last night, and maybe still true today, but I have an update on it. Up until last night, you could not give to Billy Graham, okay? They weren't
Right.
approved. They received
But Glenn, allow me. Let me jump in here. Billy Graham was not approved. Franklin Graham was not approved. Franklin Graham was advertising on Fox last night. I saw it, and I'm going, wait a minute. Fox won't match Franklin Graham, but they'll match the Satanic Temple. Folks, if you want to see what the Satanic Temple is about, just go to the website. There's no hiding. They can call it what they will. There are people, there are men, half goats, and some of the crazy things going on. Not Church of Satan, but the Satanic Temple are different. Yeah, go ahead.
And don't, I mean, I know I look to Satan for the truth, but they say, we don't worship Satan. We just call ourselves bullcrap. They are the ones that have gone.
Obviously, anybody that is worshiping in the Satanic Temple obviously worships Satan. It's very odd that they try to not align themselves as like Satanists or worshiping Satan. But then they also talk, because I've heard these talking points where they talk about how they're not actually worshiping Satan. They think of Satan as a figure of liberty and truth and knowledge and light and the light bearer and all of this nonsense. But obviously it all links up. You know what? To me, it's kind of like being left and being woke. They might be different things. You could see different actions between the two, but at the end of the day, they are a part of the same hemisphere, we'll say. And the same goes for these Satanist types. Now let's get into deeper. Let's get into deeper of why they would be doing this. Now, if we go to the World Economic Forum website, which we are, this is the Board of Trustees here. So on the Board of Trustees is Lawrence D. Fink. This is Larry Fink. If you don't know who he is, it says right there, CEO of BlackRock. If you didn't see that the first time, you can see it here. Chairman and CEO, BlackRock. There he is. He's on the website. He's part of the Board of Trustees, which is higher than what I actually thought he was, which was a part of leadership and governance. He's actually higher up than that. He's very, very close to Klaus Schwab. So why does that matter when I say, or when, Glenn Beck talks about ESGs and all of this stuff? Well, Larry Fink was talking about forcing behaviors. He's talking about how you need to force behaviors onto companies and that they will be impacted. These are his exact words. They will be impacted if they do not take part in these behaviors. Now, what these behaviors are, he doesn't really get into the specifics of, but after he said this, you see a lot of companies bowing down to ESG, which is basically a company's social credit score. And a company that embraces, say, June, a company that embraces Pride Month fully and does a whole campaign, their score will be higher than a company that chooses not to participate in something like that. So let's get a quick clip of him talking about these forced behaviors.
Behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. What we are doing internally is, if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay? You have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
You're going to be impacted. So that is why all of this is happening. So it's like, why would they align with the Satanic Temple? Well, because they're trying to be almighty inclusive. They're trying to include everybody. And a lot of times with what's been going on in the world, in the name of inclusion, a lot of people, a lot of these groups have been going too far. They go too far into the inclusion. When you become completely tolerant of everything, there's a lot of things that can leak in. A lot of things that aren't so good. One of them is Satanism. How about that? Now they're trying to give these people the option to donate to the Satanic Church. It's very interesting. When they brought up Billy Graham, that was something that was more on the Christian side. And as you heard them talking about it, it was something that Fox wasn't allowing matching for, wasn't allowing donation to. which is very interesting. They were taking the money in terms of advertising so that Christian organization could advertise on Fox, but they wouldn't allow the employees to donate. So very, very interesting. BlackRock owns how much of Fox? Just to give you a little lead into so BlackRock ownership in Fox. Switch over here. So they do own a little bit of Fox. And when I say a little bit, I mean quite a bit. They do own. Oh, look at this. You can go down here. BlackRock increases position in Fox Corporation. By that, they mean they have bought more of Fox. Very, very interesting. But I only bring this up to show that's why this is happening. The exact man who's talking about, listen, you'll be impacted if you do not force these behaviors, all of a sudden, his company owns a lot of Fox, you know. So let's see here. In their previous filing day, 2022, they reported owning 39.8 million shares and 12.4% of the company, and an increase in shares to 14.75 and an increase of total ownership to 2.7. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but believe me, that's a lot. And it's not just that it's a lot of ownership, it's a lot of money that they are going to be willing to infuse into Fox, and it gives them more control. So now it kind of makes sense. They're getting rid of Tucker. They got rid of 2 other people while they were getting rid of Tucker, and they kind of swept it underneath the rug of the Tucker hysteria. They got rid of those people. They started becoming a little more woke, donating to the Satanic Church. It all kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense why Tucker isn't with this company anymore. And it's not just because Fox is going woke. It's because God works in very brilliant ways. And as this company was becoming more like that, someone who's of God, like Tucker claims to be and has spoken about many times, he knows way more Bible verses than I do. And I've gotten saved about a year ago. So it's just funny how all of a sudden you get removed from certain things. You know, I have a prayer that I always say that remove relationships, remove things that do not serve me, do not serve your will. Please remove them from my life. If Tucker has anything like that, and it's just funny what gets removed from your life all of a sudden. You're like, that friend's like gone. Oh, I don't know what happened to that person. I don't talk to that person anymore. Oh, that's weird. This relationship just fell away. And it's like, you got to remember what you're praying for, what you're asking for, because all of a sudden those things go away. I have another clip that I'm going to play of these two talking. Really like their conversation. Let's play this last clip.
Again, I don't want to besmirch anybody at Fox.
I keep on playing it at double speed because that's what I listen to it on. I apologize for that. Sometimes my clips are a little sped up because I forget to change it. It sounds normal to me. My apologies. Let's go.
Fox News, any of the talent, you and I know many of them. And many of them are deeply religious people who love God and are trying their best. But this is coming again from the corporate structure. This is what I talked about in my book, The Great Reset, and in Dark Future, which just came out. This is exactly what I'm talking about, where they come in and they hijack the company. And I think this might be willingly on Fox News site, but they come in, they hijack, and they pervert. And slowly but surely, all of a sudden, it's a completely different company that is against your values. I personally respect MSNBC more because they at least say it out loud. They're like, yep, that's who we are. Fox News going dark like this and people not knowing is a grave danger to the Republic.
Glenn, really good having you on. It'll be.
And he's very right about that. You know, very right about that. And I would second that. I would go deeper into that because you hear him say that and you're just like, nah, I guess so. But you can see that you can see that in companies recently. I mean, Bud Light, great example. Target, great example. You could also see it in the music industry. You see it like crazy. I mean, great example, Sam Smith. Sam Smith is a great example. If you don't know who he is, he's a singer. He has a beautiful voice, right? He used to be a clean-cut gentleman. He used to dress a lot like Justin Timberlake. You'd see him in a suit all the time. Very clean-cut, trim, thin gentleman. Lost a lot of weight. Looked great. Sounded great. And slowly, as he got into the music industry, you saw him put on a little weight. That's fine. People put on a little weight. Happens all the time. I've done a little bit, right? Then you see him, walking around in short shorts, and you're like, okay. And then all of a sudden he dyes his hair, and you're like, all right, that's fine. He's a rock star. He's a celebrity type. And then all of a sudden you see him in pantyhose, and you're like, all right, not my thing. And the next thing you see is him on stage, and he's dressed as Satan. And he's twerking, and he has all this satanic imagery, and the stage is all red, and there's fire behind him, and you're just like, what just happened? And I could go on and on with the examples of people in the music industry, and I think it's that exact same thing, that there's a hijacking that goes on behind the scenes. There's conversations that go on behind the scenes. When you have someone like Larry Fink talk about you have to force behaviors, and then he actually owns stock in that company. Well, whether it's him that actually sits down with somebody in the Fox boardrooms, or he sends somebody forces a behavior inside of a company. And if they say you got to get rid of this person, this Tucker guy who's talking about the CIA killing Kennedy and all sorts of wild stuff, you got to get rid of him. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to put this black person in his slot. Looks better. You need more diversity here. You need this. You need that. They do it. Because like Larry Fink said, they will be impacted financially. And you think Fox doesn't need money, but they probably do. And if one shareholder is big as BlackRock, because you got to think about BlackRock, how big they are, they probably own a certain amount, and then they probably own parts of companies, other companies that also own part of Fox. So when I look up that whole thing, when I looked up that stat just now, that's just them, what they say they have. That's just what they have. But you don't know if they own the next company, the next company, the next company. And if it's like 4% of each company, now we're talking about they really have the amount of control towards, 20% of the company, 25, maybe even 30. And then, like Larry Fink said, you got to force behavior. And I think that's what we're seeing here with this whole satanic thing. I do have another, to speak on their behalf a little bit, Fox. They did remove it. They did decide. Fox News reportedly removes the Satanic Temple from donation matching. But this is only after Glenn Beck exposed everything. So they did remove it. It's gone now. You can't do that. But they didn't remove any of the other organizations that I brought up. And, we're not privy to it. We can't see the list, but I'm sure there's still a bunch of questionable organizations on there. It's a forced behavior. It's something that we're going to see more and more with companies. Again, we're seeing it with Bud Light, all sorts of companies, and we're going to see it with more people in the spotlight over and over again. And the companies that stand up to it, they'll probably get hit pretty hard in terms of like finance, but if they stand out enough to us, we the people, then they should be able to make it. But who knows? I don't know about business when it gets to that level. I'll be honest. I'm in a spare room with a couple of lights and a camera. I don't know that much about business. But if you haven't liked the video already, like the video. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. We're making 1 to 3 videos a day. I don't know anyone else that's doing that. I just said like a Joe Biden thing there. Did you hear that? I don't know anyone else doing that. I don't know anyone else that's doing that. And other than that, I'm out.